Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Coaching Hour podcast. It's so nice to see you today. Unfortunately, we don't have Paul with us for our session today, but it's myself, it's Mary, and we have Megan Cleland as our guest. Welcome, Megan. It's so nice to have you. It's a first time guest.
It's so awesome to be here. Thank you.
Great. And Mary, how's things going? I see your pretty little Christmas lights there at the background flickering.
Oh yeah, I've I've decorated my office.
Nice and
I'm
festive.
I'm I'm getting ready for the festive season.
Perfect. So thank you so much everyone for joining. We're going to have a very interesting topic, and this will be our very final session for this year of 2025. We have Megan Cleland as our guest. She's a manifestation coach, and we are going to talk about manifestation, which is something myself and Mary are very a topic that we're fond of, and something that Mary also teaches in her own way, in her communities and networks. So welcome, Megan. So nice to have you.
I'm so pumped to be here. Being on this podcast is really, to me, when I used to think of being on something, this is like one of those milestones for me. So yeah, it's like such a great honor to be here. Thank you.
It's lovely to have you. Now, Megan, tell us, how did you get onto this journey? How did you become a manifestation coach?
So yeah, it's been a ride. It's not been an easy ride, and I would say I kind of fell into it, but knowing what I know now, that's not really how it works. It's been 100% part of the journey. But to make a very long story short, uh, I used to suffer from anxiety and depression most of my life. Got married, had twin babies. By the time I got to my late 20s, got divorced and found myself being suicidal. I actually got admitted into, I think it is Glenview, 3 times. So had a really hard journey with that. And it wasn't until like the third attempt I realized that I needed to find a different way to live without wanting to take my life, because I just had so much pain and suffering from, as we all do from things that we've been through in our lives. And going on that, I was very logical, like very psychological. Like I was very much about things are happening in the 3D and very ego driven and so on. Although I didn't quite understand it so much at the time, but my mind was in complete control, and it was giving me a lot of suffering at the end of the day. And so first, I discovered, I think a lot of us, we go on the journey of Tony Robbins to get us all positive and pumped and, switching from the negative to the positive. And then that journey took me a couple of years. And then I discovered Eckhart Tolle, who kind of brought me into understanding a bit more about the ego and the now. And then, yeah, like one thing led to another. Started being introduced to all the woo-woo out there, all the spiritual things. My first introduction was Reiki, and it was so far-fetched out of this world. Like it was like, what is this? And I'm very curious, like I want to understand, intellectually understand things. And so I just went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole and came to manifestation. And it's so amazing because the time about when I learned about manifestation and when I really started to apply it is when I met Mary, who's here. And so Mary's actually been my mentor for the last, I think it's 4 years now, Mary, since just before you started Shaping Champions. And yeah, so she's been a fundamental part of my shift and understanding manifestation and starting to practice it in my life in a big way. And yeah, so the last 4 years really has been where I've been able to, it's one thing to intellectually understand something, but then to actually make it a part of your life. So that's what's happened in the last couple of years and why I've been inspired to actually start sharing and teaching and coaching manifestation as well.
Wow, so it's been a journey.
Yes.
Um, I'm so glad that we are having this topic today because since April this year, I decided to go onto this manifestation journey, and as life has it and how things work, it doesn't work out the way that you think it's going to work out. Sometimes the opposite actually happens. And, there's many manifestation teachers out there, and I was on my own journey to figure this out. How does this work? Because it seems like there's not really one set formula that you use, and then everything just happens, falls into place beautifully. It's quite a journey. So I would love to hear your perspective on what is manifestation. Let's first start perhaps there, and then you can tell us your experience of how you have figured it out in your life.
Yeah, that's such an important question because like I said, I've gone down many rabbit holes because I have this thirst for understanding something fully. And what I've also come to believe is that manifestation isn't a method. And I was so seduced by the industry, by follow this tip, follow this technique, do this thing, and your life will change. Listen to this meditation, and tomorrow you'll wake up with $1 million. And it
Same.
and it creates so much unnecessary suffering because you feel like you're doing something wrong. You feel like you're broken. And I have aphantasia, which means is I can't visualize. I can't see in my mind's eye the way that the manifestation industry speaks of. So I felt broken for a very long time. And because I had so much, I've been through so much suffering, I don't like watching other people suffer. So it's like my mission to set the record straight. Like to for us as a society, as a collective, to move away from the seduction of it's a technique, it's something you got to learn, and we got to come back to it's actually just the default of who we are as human beings. And instead of us doing a whole lot of things to get a result, actually what needs to happen is we need to remove a whole lot of conditioning and just come back to who we naturally are as human beings, and then you can manifest like the rich, fucking easy peasy. It's not going to be an issue.
Can I say that the way they understand it is that you are taking the mysticism out of manifestation?
Yeah, 100%. Because I've had that journey of intellectual. To me, it's like, okay, you're telling me all this stuff, but show me the proof in 3D reality. Show me the proof in everyday life, especially for us as South Africans. Because I feel like we're a third world country, right? So we're watching the world. Most of the people that we are listening to are sitting in first world countries. And so for me, I had a really hard time with that. Yeah, you sitting there in your first world country and you teaching all this stuff, but you have no idea what I'm going through here as a South African. So I really was like, I need to experience this for myself. I can't sell something or talk about something that I haven't fully experienced for myself and validated and can say this is legit. So yeah, show me 3D proof. Let's bring it down to the basics. Let's stop making it this woo-woo thing that feels so far-fetched and that people, because what it's doing is it's giving manifestation a bad rap. It's taking people away from their power. And what we want to do is we want to bring people back into their power. So yeah, that's what I'm all about. It's just showing people that it's actually so true. Even just this very conversation here today, I've been guided by a higher power. People talk about a higher power. Some people say the divine, the universe, God, spirit, angels, whatever. It's all, there's a higher metaphysical power at play. Even us having this conversation here today, I think I've mentioned to you about the M's before, Marika, in my life, where I've been guided by the M's and the C's in my life. And the fact that Paul isn't on this call today, and we're just all around talking about manifestation, Marika, Megan, Mary. It's divine guidance. Like I was so looking forward to meeting Paul today. Like it was like, woo, because I've just seen so much of him and so on. But then when I'm like, okay, let's go with the flow. And it's just, again, a confirmation of this is a conversation for the power of manifestation, for the
Yes,
power of, and let's keep
exactly.
it clean, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it happens exactly the way that it's suited for whatever purpose it is. Before we get into what manifestation really is, let's talk about the not the myths out there, but what are some of the misunderstandings that you've encountered? Because it's like you said, I've also followed many manifestation teachers from first world countries, and I've done this, I've done that. What are some of the, I don't know what we would call it? What causes misunderstanding? What's your perspective on that?
So I think it's like the cliches of the manifestation industry. It's like, do your affirmations, do your journaling, do your gratitude practice, do your visualization, do your meditation. I don't do those things every day. Like
Mm,
it's actually not. I used to force it. I used to do
mm,
it, and it used to be a thing on my to-do list to do. And now it's more like, if I feel like journaling, then I'll journal. If I feel like meditating, I'll meditate. But I have a hard time with it, so I don't force myself anymore. Because as soon as you start forcing yourself to do something, you're not in the natural flow.
mm,
And there's a fine line between doing something that's uncomfortable, like anything we do in life where we got to learn a skill. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but there's a difference between doing something that's uncomfortable to learn a skill, and then doing something that's just not who we are meant to be as the default of us as humans. If you think
mm,
about 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, people weren't sitting affirming and journaling and meditating, or maybe like in Indian cultures and so on. Yes, definitely they have their thing, but not to the degree that the manifestation community is selling us. So for me, it's more about, it is who you be. Who
mm,
are you when you wake up in the morning? When I wake up in the morning now, irrelevant of what is happening in my life, even if there is something that I'm grieving, even if there is something that's not quite what I want it to be, I am still in gratitude. Like, it's just who I naturally am, because even that thing that isn't maybe happening the way that I want it to happen is part of the journey. And so a lot of people are stuck in this, oh, but it's got to be positive. I got to be positive. I got to switch my thinking in a matter of seconds. But all you're doing then is it's toxic positivity. You're avoiding your emotions, and you're trying to bypass the spiritual journey. Because
mm,
to me, the human experience is 100%. The negative is as relevant as the positive, because you need the contrast. You can't appreciate the summer if you haven't experienced the winter. So how
mm,
can you appreciate when things go right if you haven't experienced what it feels like when things go wrong?
mm, mm,
So I think that's one of the biggest things that people are stuck on is, oh, I've got to be positive and I've got to think positive thoughts in order to manifest.
mm.
And yes, there's a place we can't sit here and be depressed and negative and pessimistic about everything, but there's a balance. And we've got to come
Mm.
back to that balance of what is this journey all about actually, and what brings us back to our power.
Yes. Now, why do you believe that it doesn't work to just, think positive thoughts, visualize every day? Why does that not work?
So when I was doing that, about the time I met Mary, and maybe the year or so after that, I was in a very toxic relationship. It was physically abusive, physically, emotionally, mentally abusive. And what I was being taught then by the manifestation community, maybe it's just my perception, I wasn't listening right, but I also had like a manifestation coach in my life who was a psychic, who had me, what's the word, scammed me and so on. And it was like, just think positive thoughts, it's gonna come right. You can change your reality. Just think positive and he'll change, and he'll stop abusing you, and he'll shift. Because in manifestation, we know when we shift within, our reality can shift without. Our 3D cannot change until we change. So I would sit there and think, I'm going to meditate and affirm my way into a healthier relationship right here in this house where things are not working. And that kept me trapped for a very long time. And it kept me stuck. And it was around the time, but Mary lives in Benoni as well. So she'll remember when we had the load shedding. And here in Benoni, we had a couple of stints where we were without electricity and water for a couple of weeks at a time in that year. Like, it was literally as if what was happening in my reality was it didn't matter how much I outwardly tried to do to remedy my situation financially, in my business, with my children, in this relationship. It didn't matter what I tried to do outwardly, the foundation of it just wasn't working. And literally what was happening in my reality was the foundation of the water and the electricity and everything was also not working. It was like a really tough, like, there was no electricity, there was no internet, so you can't work. You literally, as much as you want to do things, you just can't. And then when the water goes off for a week, then you really get tested, you know? So I realized that Mary, what happened is that towards that December, Mary sent me a video on Sonia Choquette, who talks about your angels and your guides. And to me at that point, I was very much still in the mind, in the logical. You got to affirm, you got to visualize. So it was still very ego-driven. It was still very intellectual. And what I've realized is manifestation has got nothing to do with your intellect. Manifestation is actually a divine higher power that you surrender to. And again, it's not about sitting on your couch doing nothing, but it is about having a certain level of faith and trust that everything will work out, irrelevant of what your 3D circumstance looks like. And so I was in this situation where I didn't know how. What ended up happening was that it got so volatile in this household that my children didn't want to come home to me because I was divorced at that point. They lived with their dad half the time. And I was forced that I could not stay in that 3D reality anymore. But the month prior to that, I was introduced to Sonia Choquette, who then I realized that there's such a thing as your angels and your guides. And I started learning how to call in my angels, because your angels cannot intervene unless you give them permission. They are always with you. They're always there. And I feel like they're untapped. We don't fully understand how to call on our angels and how to trust and know that they got our back and that they can intervene. And that's what I started doing that December. And that January, when things went in the middle of January, it's like, now you got to move. You got to move in the middle of the month. You have no money. Your credit score is non-existent because you're in debt. How is this going to happen? And I realized that in that whole situation, which I'm happy to tell you about what ended up happening from that, the how was taken care of in a way that intellectually I would never have been able to create it myself. And there was a certain set of sequence of events that happened that was one of the biggest proofs to me as to what is possible, even as a South African living here, with all the issues that we have on a daily basis.
So something that I've almost realized is, as we look at, international manifestation teachers, it seems like the advice that's being given is like, if I compare it always to, watching television. Let's say I've got YouTube playing on TV, but I want to watch Netflix. So now it's like sticking Netflix on top of, you know, the program that's still running. I think that's how I interpret it in the last couple of months, that, you try to visualize something, but ultimately two things. Firstly, what is creating your reality in the first place is a program running in the background. So I can't stick a positive on top of the negative or the reality that's still, existent. And the second
Yeah.
thing is something that you've mentioned, that you cannot manifest something that is not part of your journey not in alignment. I can't sit here and decide, I want to be a millionaire, so I'm going to imagine becoming a millionaire. If that is not in alignment with who you are and who you're supposed to become,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes, you can make money, but it's not something that you can think of intellectually and just decide and just manifest. Am I correct or not? That's
No,
my interpretation.
I 100% agree with you because it's like a computer and it's like a program. So for me, it's like the point should be to come back to neutrality first before trying to create on top of it. And people are in survival, so they just want the quick fix. They just want things to change. Now, a very good experiment in our human society that you guys can go and Google and research this yourself is lottery winners. If you go and look at the percentage of lottery winners that are worse off from after they have won that money to what they were before, it's like something like 70%. And the reason being is because they did not do the internal work. They got the money and they think that the money is the solution. And you can go and speak to any rich person out there, people who have made billions. And I listen because I want to know the answers. I'm not a billionaire yet, so I want to hear what billionaires have to say. But money does not solve the wounds that you have. So if you were a crappy person before you won the money, you're going to be a crappy person with the money. If you didn't know how to manage your money before you got the money, you're probably not going to know how to manage your money after you got the money. And so what ends up happening to these people is that they end up losing it all and actually end up in jail or death, or someone in their family dies because they spent recklessly and they have to learn these hard lessons. But it's 100% because they did not do the internal work. And that just goes to show that money is not the solution. To me, it's about the journey of building resilience, building stretching yourself, especially as an entrepreneur. I'm sure both of you can relate to this. It's one of the biggest journeys where you shine a light in every part of your soul, every part of your being, because if you're an entrepreneur, you have to show up for yourself, you have to overcome challenges, you cannot hide away from it. And it's the same thing with manifestation, because the reality is that manifestation isn't something you need to learn. You are naturally doing it anyway. So whatever your reality looks like right now is because you have manifested it that way, because of, like you said, the default program that's running in the background. And I think
So,
people think, oh,
oh,
this is something I
sorry.
need to learn. But what you actually need to do is learn how to do it so that you have control instead of not having control. Sorry, Mary.
So while you were talking, I wrote a few things down because, sometimes it just slips your mind and then you don't remember. When you said about the money and the lotto and all of that, there's a saying that I heard years ago. It says, money makes you more of who you are inside.
So true.
And then the other thing is, when you were speaking about the reasons why people don't manifest, even though they do the so-called techniques, is the thing that you said, Marika, was the background, and that causes attachment. The background program causes you to be attached. It also causes you to have instant gratification needs met. Or getting away from who we are as humans. We are beings. We are not doers.
Yeah.
So who is the doer? It's the one that is creating all the time. We are just the being. So, like you said, we have to be and flow and not be attached, trust and have faith and unbecome who we became.
Yeah.
Because we are born manifestors.
Yeah.
It is our nature.
So true. And I think especially for us as South Africans, we are, as a society, are in survival. because of everything that's happening in our lives. So our nervous systems are geared, we all have to be hyper vigilant all the time. And so what ends up happening is that we're naturally just stuck in this survival, and we're not in the state of neutrality where we can just be. But what I wanted to talk about earlier is, and explain, is that I've experienced in my own 3D reality that even when I was in survival, I was able to manifest an amazing way out of that. Can I tell you guys the story about how, because I love
Yes.
telling a story. Like, I can't teach something without telling a story, because we can sit here and talk about all these things all day long. But to me, a testimonial is like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yes.
So that very situation that I found myself in, where it was a 3-year long, mentally, physically, emotionally abusive relationship. And there's many reasons, as you know, that why women stay and why they struggle to get out of these situations. And I was very much isolated at that point and didn't have an immediate, to me, it was always like, what do I do in an emergency? Who do I phone? Where do I go? I have 2 dogs. I have 2 kids with me half the time. So it's just easier to just stay small, to try and stay safe, because I believed at that point it was like, but the police can't help me. I don't know about societies out there that can help women who are endangered, and even so, how long can they help you? You know, because now I have a life to live if I'm to leave here. So what ended up happening is, like I said, I started calling in my angels and my guides every day. And when this pawpaw hit the fan, basically middle January. Now, to move in the middle of January, I don't know about you, but it's not the ideal time. You would think that it's the middle of the month. I need a pet friendly. I need a place that can, you know, that there's space for me and my kids. It needs to be open because I need to haul ass like now. So there's like all these conditions that, and I very much like, I had a couple of standards. Like, I remember saying to Mary at that point, Mary said to me, my girl, if you've got to give up your animals, you got to give up your animals. And I said, Mary, I don't believe that. I'm not going to give up my animals. Like, the universe is going to give me a place where my animals are going to have to come with me, because I'm not going to give them up. So when this volatile situation happened, it was a Friday. And I made a promise to myself that he would never put his hands on me again. And luckily his kids were there, so he had to behave. And I just started packing. I didn't know where I was going to move. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I just started packing. So I started packing for 5 days straight, prayed for protection, and luckily he just started a new job. So he was out of my space on the Monday and just let me do my thing. But I had the feeling that he was playing along, but he wasn't actually going to physically let me go. So I packed and packed and packed until I was ready on the Wednesday. Didn't know where I was going to go. I sat down and I wrote down a couple of things, a handful of things. I just remember I'm in survival because my life is in danger. So I'm not in any positive situation. There's no positive, you know, it's not, all I knew is that I called in my angels and my guides and I said, help me. Just get me out of this situation. I don't care how. I believe that you will make it so. I believe that it will be better than what I can ever imagine. Just help me. I surrender. I'm ready to leave. Just send me the support. The money came so that I could move immediately. Got 50K in my account from a family member so that I could buy what I needed to buy, because now I had to start over with fridge and washing machine and all the stuff. I sat down when I finished packing and I wrote down, I want a safe home, because now I'm going to be woman alone again. You know, you have this perception that a man's supposed to keep you safe. So I want a safe home. I want a beautiful home. I want a home that has space. And I want it to be I want it to be affordable. That's what I said. I want it to be realistically affordable for me. And then I started doing the things that the logical next steps, right? Because we cannot sit there and meditate our way to a new home. We got to physically take some steps. But who I was being in that moment was, I have faith and trust that you are going to make it so amazing that it's going to sweep me off my feet. And I sent in Benoni, we have a couple of community groups where like buy and sell groups, and we have a group by our ward councillors. So I sent messages on those groups and I said, looking for immediate availability, pet friendly, X amount, 2 bedroom at least. And then I started looking on the apps, like the properties 24 and all that stuff. Thinking, okay, if anything, I'm going to find it there. I'm going to find a home on those apps. And within, I think it was 3 hours, a lady WhatsApped me and said, my daughter has a property open that's been standing open for 6 months in your area, in Rhinefield, because I needed a place that's close to the schools as I can't just move far. And it's been standing open and she has availability, and here's her number. I went to see that property the next morning. The contract was signed. And again, remember, I don't have credit score. I don't have my own income. I'm not bringing in enough money myself. This lady is a chartered accountant. She has her own business. So you would think of anybody in South Africa, she would want my pay slips. She'd want my ID. She doesn't know me from a bar of soap. She did not ask for any of it. None of it. And to me, that's unfathomable. How someone in South Africa cannot even ask for a copy of an ID. But this is the situation, is that the universe just makes it so amazing that now to explain to you what this home looks like, Mary has been here a couple of times, so she can attest to this, which I love so much, that she has had a front row seat to this whole experience of mine, is that it feels, is it 10 or 15 minutes away from where I used to live, Mary? Because it's not far from you. And it is as if I'm on holiday every day, because it's literally like a utopia. I live on a plot. I have access to a swimming pool that's taken. Oh, the other thing I said is I want low maintenance. I'm a woman on my own. I don't want to sickle with the gardening. I don't want to struggle with hanging up paintings. There's a full-time gardener here. He takes care of everything, looks after the pool. I have access to all of it. It's literally like being on holiday every day. My animals are happy. There's space. It's beautiful. Plus, then on the financial side, this is the least amount I have paid in a decade of where I have lived, and it is the most beautiful place. Plus, I don't pay water and lights. It's inclusive.
Wow.
Where do you have that? Now, where I was in that reality before, where I was constantly having to watch the electricity, the prepaid meter, constantly having to watch my petrol because the money was so tight. Now, I don't have any of that. I don't have to look at electricity. I don't even have to buy electricity. I'm luckily they're lucky because I'm conservative. But can you see how the universe will over deliver, even though I live in South Africa, even though I live 10 minutes from where I used to live, my reality is so vastly different. So much so that at that point, we were still having all the load shedding. So about April of last year, so I moved in January, about April of last year, that load shedding ended. And I'm still on the community group, so I can see when everyone's having electricity issues and water outages. Now I live right close next to a water tower, so I have had one day without water where I can see Benoni is constantly having water issues. I don't experience it, even though I still live in the same zip code as where I lived before. These landlords, they have a generator, so I don't feel power outages the way that I used to. I joked with my kids that December when we swam, because I love a swim, but I hate the cold water. And I said to them, our next house will have a heated pool. I don't know how, but that's what I want. And I forgot about it. And when I moved in here, only afterwards, when she said to me, you have access to the pool, don't worry, just use it. The pool is heated.
Wow.
What I want everyone to know in this situation is that when you have the faith, the trust, the knowing, and you believe that things will turn out so much better than what your current situation is, irrelevant of the challenges that you're experiencing as a South African, the universe can deliver so much more. And these stories are living proof of it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's living proof. And the big thing is the faith part. And I think that's the
Yeah.
one thing most people struggle with, we doubt, and we think, what if it doesn't work out? What if I'm positive and I get disappointed? It's those type of things that keeps us from having whatever we want. It comes back to having faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faith is evidence of things not seen.
Yes.
100%.
And we want to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
But
the
also
thing.
what I've realized in my own life is when you reach a crossroad, that's the time when you take the leap,
Mm.
because you try everything and nothing's working. And you think,
Mm.
well, you just surrender and you say, okay, where to from here? And that part is that it's surrendering, it's flowing. When you surrender, you step into the flow chart.
Mm.
When you don't
It's so,
surrender, you're resisting. So you can't move forward if you're resisting.
Mm.
You have
yeah.
to embrace what's happening, see it for what it is, ask for help from your higher spiritual resources. There's plenty, and
Plenty.
trust that it's coming because it's real. The
Mm.
things that we think are unreal are real.
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra said once, what we think is real is unreal, but what is unreal is real. Try and figure that one out.
It's
It's
true.
like living in the Matrix. I 100% felt like Neo taking that pill and discovering that life isn't as I understood it. And yeah, as soon as you understand that you're actually living, that the Matrix is more documentary than you might think, the quicker your shift can happen. And even so, I just want, there's one more thing I want to mention to women that are listening here, is when I drew a line in the sand, is I said, I will never allow this to happen to me again. Like, this is it. This is not my first abusive relationship, and I'm not going through one again. Support arrived. Yeah, in Benoni, yeah, in this society that we live in. So much so that I went through the process of getting a protection order. And there's again so much I can tell you in the background as to the divine intervention that happened. But what was so amazing to me is the day that I went through the process, got my protection order, but I needed him to sign for it at the police station. And I asked this community who are here, who actually help vulnerable citizens in situations like these. I said, can you please come with me to the police station so that I just have someone else there because I'm too scared to go on my own. There were 7 people that came that
Wow.
day from that society, 3 men and 4 women. I
Wow.
did not have to say a word to him. I did not have to look into his eyes. There were 3 men that stood outside, and the 4 women surrounded me like angels inside the police station so that we didn't have to make eye contact. When he tried to talk to me, they would talk to him. And there were so many synchronicities that happened. So what I'm trying to say is that if there is a woman out there who is feeling trapped and stuck in her situation, just know from listening to this that once you do the things that we've spoken here, that there is support available to you, that there are earth angels as much as they are the metaphysical angels out there. There are real earth angels that are there ready to help you. And when I asked her, 7, why are 7 of you here? Don't you guys have work to do? Like, I didn't expect 7 to come. She said to me, they wanted to come and support me. Oh, I get emotional, is because so few women see it through. And that's not okay.
Sure. Yeah. Wow, that's powerful.
For
And
us as South Africans, that needs to end. Like the
mm,
fact that women are too scared of being intimidated to see it through, to get to the other side so that they feel safe. Like we need to, as a society, shift that.
mm, mm. Wow. No, I think it's a very, very important message. And it's such a beautiful number, 7. It's not a coincidence that it was 7.
It's the
No,
number of divine, it's divinity.
Yes, it's amazing.
definitely. Definitely. Mary said just before we started here that she's sitting on 17 Shaping Champions locations, and I was like,
Yes.
so many, 17 has been driving me as well. And the 17th of this month, I'm having another international podcast recording. I'm having another this launch of mine, this global launch is also, we're starting to talk about it openly on the 17th. And that's why I say in this very small conversation that we've had, there's just so much that's divinely guided and orchestrated that you can't intellectually make it up, but there is a higher power at play.
100%. And the right people will hear these messages.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely. So, Megan, it was so lovely talking to you, and we would love to have you again at some stage. It will be obviously in the new year. Um, are there a few, I don't want to say tips, but advice for those that is on a manifestation journey and trying to figure it out? Because what happened to me is the moment I decided to hyper focus on something, the opposite showed up, which I think it's something that you hear people say, the dark night of the soul, it's the contrast, the duality. There's many descriptions of that. And I do believe there's something to that as well, because the moment the opposite shows up, it's almost like the universe is saying, oh, you want to manifest this? Let me show you the program that you're supposed to get rid of. And then
Yeah, that's
it's,
right.
yes, and then it
It's
shows up
true.
in full-fledged, yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's those moments that Mary said that you want to give up. This is not working. I'm doing something wrong. But there's a purpose in that, it taught me that, oh, this is the thing that I'm actually supposed to deal with instead of giving up. But you do give up, surrender in that moment. So what would you like to leave people with?
So I think what you've said there is so valid about um, we kind of get tested and the universe says, so okay, you want to be a new person. So let me first make sure if you're going to choose the same or if you're going to choose different, irrelevant of how hard the circumstance is to overcome. Because you got to know in order to build that resilience and that resistance, you're going to need to choose a different path. And that is where a lot of people get stuck because they don't want to choose the uncomfortable and to face the thing, so then they shrink. There is one piece of practical advice I'd love to leave everybody with. It does include a bit of swearing. I don't know if I can, are you guys open to me sharing?
Well, you
This is
did warn them, so it's fine.
So I've tried very hard you've only had one F-bomb from me so far today. Usually there's F-bombs here and F-bombs there, and I'm giving them away like Oprah did. But I've tried to just rein it in. There's a very practical piece of advice that I share with all my clients in order to help them to navigate through their reality. And it was something that I got last year, and it was just so powerful. So right now, you must know that we are shifting into times where we all, as a collective, need to move into alignment to a better way of life. Like this is happening, whether we like it or not. We can see it in our realities that the old is falling away and the new is coming in. So the easiest way for me to tell you how to discern over what is meant for you and what is in alignment and what is not in alignment is to ask yourself in every situation, does it feel like a fuck yes or a hell no? And what that means is, does it feel like a fuck yes to go to that dinner party or to work at that job or to be in that relationship? Does it feel amazing to be in? If not, then it's a hell no. Then it's not in alignment because it doesn't feel good. And when you start practicing that in itself, what you're going to realize is that there's so much that's misaligned with what actually feels good to you and what you're actually meant to be doing on this earth. And a lot of people are sitting with a hell of a lot of hell no's.
Mm.
And then that's scary and overwhelming. So just start with discerning and tapping into your power in the little things, in the little choices that you make every day. Once you start tapping into what feels like a F yes, more and more, you'll be able to do the bigger ones. You'll be able to see, wow, this actually brings me more energy. I'm stopping to people please. I'm no longer putting myself in situations that I'm not my best authentic self. And that becomes addictive. That becomes your natural flow because then you bring more peace, more joy, more happiness, more abundance. And then once you've done it with the little things, it becomes easier to do it for the bigger things. So that's like a very practical piece of advice that I challenge everybody to practice. It has changed my life. It is literally changing the people's lives who I'm working with as well, just by using that very simple way of discerning what is meant for you and what isn't.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love the way that you express it because, FBS is like, yeah, it really feels like amazing. It's not just, no, it's okay. It's like really amazing.
If it feels like meh, then it's not for you. Like let's not settle for lukewarm. It's either
Yes.
mind-blowing, life-altering, you know,
Mm.
that's what we want because that's what manifestation is all about. My dog is wanting
I
attention
see.
there.
Cute.
So either that or no, it's not in alignment, it's not
Mm.
working, and then you'll start living your dream life faster than you know it when you start doing
Mm.
that.
No, I absolutely truly believe that. I feel, that feeling of excitement is your inner compass, and that's what you need to follow, not the logical, is it going to work out or not? How does it feel? So I absolutely agree. Yeah, thank you so much, Megan. It was so lovely, talking to you and having you as a guest. Like I said, it would be lovely to chat with you again in the new year, and then Paul will be with us in the room. But thank you so much. It was really lovely.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing to be here.
Awesome. All right, so thank you so much, and thank you, Mary, also. I look forward to 2026, where we are going to have interesting conversations and maybe put a different spin on it. We'll have a chat about that. And thank you so much for those of you that has been our followers for the last couple of years, and we look forward to an exciting new year as well. So we hope that you have a blessed festive season and starting the new year with a fresh mind. So we look forward to seeing you then. Keep well.